Hi, my name is Crystal and I've had an abortion.
My name is Shay, and I've had an abortion.
We are with the My Voice, My Choice Leadership Group with the Chicago Abortion Fund. And today we are here to talk about a very interesting topic. We actually had a premise in mind and everything, but due to recent events, we actually changed things around. We're actually here to talk about the Stupak Amendment. Now, the Stupak Amendment was passed along with the healthcare reform bill back about 2 weeks ago, November 7th, 2009. Basically, what the Stupak Amendment is, it's, if you know about the Hyde Amendment, basically, I feel like it's like pretty much the same thing, except for women all over. The Stupak Amendment basically is an amendment that's saying that that private insurance cannot cover abortions anymore. In order to cover abortion, it will, but you have to buy a rider, which is extra money that you would have to pay every month for. So, it's basically the Hyde Amendment for middle class and working class women. You have anything to add to that, Shay?
Sure. Just to give to expand a little more on the Stupak Amendment, which was created by a Democratic congressman in the United States Congress. His name is Bart Stupak. He's from Michigan. And there's a co-sponsor also, which is Joe Pitts. He's a Republican from Pennsylvania. And the Congress has created their version of healthcare reform. And in this bill, the Stupak Pitts Amendment was created. Basically, what it wants to do is it wants to further prohibit public and private coverage of abortion in the new insurance exchange. So, this is not, anything permanent. This is just an amendment that's been a part of the healthcare reform bill that Congress just passed November 7th. So, like she said, basically what they want to say is even if you have public insurance, which we know if you have state Medicaid, because of the Hyde Amendment, you cannot get an abortion covered. But this amendment will further extend that. So it basically will say if you get federally subsidized insurance through the new insurance exchange, which is what healthcare reform is trying to create, then it will not be able to be covered based on the Stupak Amendment. If you have private insurance, they basically want to say if you want to have an abortion service covered, then you have to purchase a rider, which basically you're planning for an unplanned pregnancy, which is extra money, which you may use. And I mean, that's kind of condescending to you having insurance if you have to purchase additional insurance for a surgical procedure, abortion. You have a caller.
Yeah, we have a caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. I have a comment. I'd like to say, I believe the amendment you are talking about is ridiculous, because what if a woman gets raped at her own will? I mean, what are these insurance companies going to do? Not accept doing an abortion, because if she doesn't want to have, his child, and frankly, she shouldn't have his child because he raped her at will. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, caller, and that is so true. What about cases of rape and incest? So I don't know how far the amendment expands into that area, but a lot of unplanned pregnancies occur because of birth control failure. A variety of things can cause an unplanned pregnancy, and for you to have medical insurance and abortion is a part of your reproductive health care. How could reproductive health care, how can anything be left out in healthcare reform regarding a reproductive health care choice? So it's kind of like, again, women rights are being restricted and taken away, even in the healthcare reform bill, which ultimately you would think the healthcare reform bill would want to create a space where we have comprehensive healthcare for women. So we understand that public funding will not cover abortion. We understand that the Hyde Amendment will not be overturned, but why further make the current status quo worse? It's bad enough that public funding could not cover abortion, and this affects many women of color, many low-income women. But now it's spreading out further, because now you're going into the working class women of higher incomes, because they have private insurance, and if they have a birth control failure, they cannot get an abortion covered. And if they want to plan for unplanned pregnancy, they have to purchase a rider, which other states have things like this in place. And it's, it doesn't show that a lot of women may even use a rider. You know what I mean? It may be a point where you pay for a rider for 5 years and never use it, and then the minute you cancel it or stop paying for it, you have an unplanned pregnancy. So it's kind of like you're paying for this rider, but you may be better off just trying to pay for an abortion out of your pocket. So this amendment just further codifies the Hyde Amendment and makes abortion just even more inaccessible.
Yeah. My question is, how do you think this will affect women, like women all over?
I mean, as I just stated, it will greatly affect more than just the women that are greatly affected by the Hyde Amendment. Now this is going further into the private sector. This is going into different economic classes. So you have women that will have private insurance. You have women that don't qualify for Medicaid, but will qualify for federal subsidies. They won't be able to pay for an abortion in the event that they have an unplanned pregnancy. And what about the women who don't have a higher income and cannot really afford supplemental insurance like a rider to cover for an abortion? And they're barely making it. So, I mean, the situation that is now, because now some insurances do cover abortions.
Right.
But what about, if this does go further, the women that have insurance now will have to come off their pocket, even though abortion is a cheaper surgical procedure. Women will have to try to forego other necessities to pay for abortion, which they are doing now, but this will spread out into a further class of women. Now it's just particularly lower income women, but this is going to be more harmful than helpful to women.
Yes.
Because women are still going to have abortions. They're still going to have abortions, whether they can afford them, whether their insurance covers them. They're still going to have them. So this is just greatly endangering more women.
Exactly. Because the fact is that women have been having abortions since the beginning of time. And women, for years now, because of the Hyde Amendment, have gone without paying their light bill or, going grocery shopping or paying phone bill, anything, just to be able to come up with the money for this abortion. So with this new amendment, this is really just going to make things a lot worse for a lot more women, not just women of color or poor women, but all women.
And Roe versus Wade is legal, which makes abortion legal. So these amendments that are created just makes Roe v. Wade more inaccessible. It just pushes women further away to having abortion legal.
So, we had a caller who wanted to know the status of the Parental Responsibility Act.
The Parental Notification Act?
I think that's what they meant. Parental Notification Act.
For right now, I think it's not in effect. It's been put on hold. I don't know the legality issues, why it's been put on hold. I know ACLU has filed some kind of injunction to stop it. So I really am not versed in parental notification. Our organization is an organization that supports other organizations that are really doing policy around parental notification. But, this show is to really talk about Stupak, which is what's really detrimental to abortion at this point. But I do know at this point parental notification is not in effect now.
Yeah. Well, it's a good question.
Yeah, it was a very good question.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think? Can we stop this amendment? Is there anything that we can do?
Well,
at this point,
I was in Washington, D.C. on November 7th when the Congress was voting on healthcare reform. And what happened was this amendment kind of came out of the blue in a sense.
Yeah.
So we didn't really expect it. So we were planning on doing advocacy work that Monday to talk to senators from our respective states. We were with a women of color organization, Sister Song, which represents over 400 women of color from around the country. So there were over 400 women there from different states. And when we were there, the amendment came up. So we went to Capitol Hill. Each, group of women went to talk to the people from their respective